Hey everybody, I'm Eric Gerlach, and welcome to Logic at Berkeley City College. I will be recording video lectures, and this is me going over the syllabus and introducing you to the semester and the class. So I am going over the syllabus and the schedule on my website, and I'm telling you a bit about the class and a little bit about me. If you want to know more about the class and about me, there are links on my website to all of that. My name is Eric, E-R-I-C, Gerlach, G-E-R-L-A-C-H, and then that is .com, or Google that and find me and other assorted Eric Gerlachs out there in the world, some of whom have emailed me and my students have emailed their papers to. To whom? So, I guess me. So, the syllabus and schedule for Phil 10, that's Logic. I am very excited about this class in particular. The other classes, terrible, not worth your time. Hello, other classes. I'm going to also be doing this semester Asian philosophy as well, which is East Asian philosophy for me, Indian and Chinese thought, which I will be working into the Logic class. I am also doing modern European thought, which has to do on focusing on several thinkers we will also include in this Logic class. I taught last semester at Berkeley City College. This is starting my 14th year of teaching. I started in 2008, right about when Obama got elected, and have been teaching at Berkeley City College consistently since then. I am particularly excited about this class. Some of the lectures I have given in the past in my classes on Greek and Buddhist philosophy last semester, and I have been only putting up video lectures full on with me on camera since last semester. In the summer before that, I have several videos on ethics, which I wove together out of drawings and me narrating things, but those take a long time, far more than me lecturing, and I've found that people just like me to talk on camera, and I watch a lot of YouTube, so I get it. So what we're going to be doing in this class, not only am I excited to teach Logic again, I taught this class a year ago, I largely wrote the lectures a year ago, and I am happy with them, decently. I did not get to work in as much Wittgenstein and Poe and Carroll as I wanted to, and this semester, in fact, I am excited and happy to say, I will be actually presenting some work I've been doing, which I will present to the class as well, to the Lewis Carroll Society in April, which is me finding some of the logic of Aristotle in the work of Lewis Carroll. So I'm going to walk to that patiently. I'm not going to tell you all about that now. I would like to. I know many shiny, pretty things, but we are going to slowly work our way through the material, and some of the lectures are already up online. Not the lectures on Aristotle's logic, which I have yet to do to my liking, but there are lectures already up. Video lecture about Indian logic, which you can pace yourself on because I talked for an hour and 45 minutes, so break that into chunks, or I will, I swear, I threaten to. Then I will break that apart possibly at some point, or illustrate it better and rework the video, but there is an hour and 45 minutes about Indian logic, which I love to talk about, already up there. And so some of the lectures for the class are already in the playlist, including some that I did a while back. So please watch this, and then leading to other talks, as well as you're welcome to listen to my talks on logic, Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, what have you. So we are going to be talking about the logical problems of language, and human thought. Logic is one of the best classes for trying to understand, if you have a decent logic class, human thought and how thinking works. But we still don't have a formal logic that psychology agrees is the basics or bedrock level of human thought. And we're going to get into the nooks and crannies of all that, which I have the time and hopefully the patience to do with you. So we get to do a little bit of Egypt. We're going to be doing some Indian, Greek, and Chinese logic. I also have the videos about Hui Shi and Gong Sung Long, which I am decently happy about. Those are already up. I already have my Indian and Chinese logic lectures already done, and they are in the playlist for you to watch. However, I will be giving the intro lecture after this for the logic class. I would actually, if you want to, you can watch whatever you like. I can't stop you in in your own home, out on a bus, on your phone. I can't, what can I do? Nothing. But I would wait and watch the intro logic lecture, which I am going to give after this syllabus talk here. and introduce you to the class. So you can wait, and what's going to happen is over the next couple of days, I'm going to give a couple of lectures on logic, and that is going to work us up through to Indian logic easily, and then onward. It won't be more than 1 or 2 talks or 3 before we get to the Indian logic lecture, which is already up there. It's an hour and 45, as well as I'll fit in a video or 2 about the Jains I've already made because they are important for context. Then we will then do Greece and Aristotle and the Stoics, and then I already have my Chinese logic lectures on Huishi, Gongsong Long, White Horse is and is not a horse, of course. And then we will have all of the ancient logic to do medieval, Islamic, and European stuff a bit before moving on to the basics of formal and informal logic, deduction, induction, fallacies, and theories of argument and studies of correct reasoning in the history of human thought and the world. Now, what you should do for the course material, as for all of my classes, this logic class is particularly different because instead of giving you 3 essay assignments, I'm giving you 10 logic assignments. Those are easier each than an essay because I'm trying to even the coursework out. Normally, I have people write me 3 papers, 2 4-page papers and an 8-page paper. That is what the coursework is going to be for my current classes, which I'm going to deliver a short talk on the syllabus for each of those right after this, and upload in modern European and East Asian philosophy. Phil 20B and 37. If you need a class or 2, again, they are trying to cap these off given the onlineness of them now, and the plague continues, But yes, we are there. If you need other classes, please email me. But what you should do, even though this is 10 logic assignments, which is rare for my classes and special to logic, the assignments and even the key to the answers are already up on the main syllabus page. Again, search for my name and click on Logic under Courses. You should find this syllabus, what I'm going over now, as well as you will find the 10 assignments, which each of are at the end of the lectures in the appropriate places. But then the answers where there are answers, I have you write a short essay in the beginning and in the end, 2 pages long, in order to reflect on what you think about logic and what you think it is, etc., and then work through it, and then in the end conclude about it, which I hope does people good, because I want people to reflect freely on how logic is systematic or thought is systematic or not, and then come to conclusions after they work through the coursework. That for all of my classes, what you should definitely do, given that things are online, is bookmark the syllabus page. Again, it should be under courses on my website, which is myname.com, not my name, myname.com. You fools! So bookmark that syllabus page, watch the videos in the playlist above. The words I'm reading right now. I outthunk myself there. Read and follow along with the lecture links. So I would listen to these talks while reading along with the lectures. Some students I've talked to have said that they prefer to read the lectures and then listen to videos. I have had some who prefer to listen to videos and then don't really pick up the lecture notes. If I were you want to learn it as best as possible, I would listen to me rant on while following along a little bit in the lecture notes. And remember, if something I say is too quick or too slow, or you miss it for any reason, slow or quick, it would be there in the lecture notes if it is content that I certainly want you to know. So, if there is something such that you don't want to sound ignorant in your answers or papers, it would be in the lecture notes if I talk quickly or too pretty one day, not today. So read the online free readings. There is no assigned reader that costs money or books that cost money for the class. I have readings and problem sets that I have arranged for you. As usual, I try to make my classes, it is public education, so it should be free. So we try to make it as free as possible in California as we can here. So you don't need a textbook. You just need to watch these videos and follow along with the lecture notes to gain clarity in my rantings and ravings. And if you want a grade for the class, complete the assignments at your own pace. I do have I will go over the recommended pace. Some students ask me specifically for a specific pace, and I have provided that, but I also tell students, work at your own pace, contact me and talk to me as you need to, and we will work through these online sessions together. So, If you don't complete the assignments at your own pace, though, and turn in everything by midnight on the final day of Berkeley City College, I have a link to the important dates for each semester. I will not mention them here because this lecture will serve 4 semesters, hopefully, in the future. So if you don't turn in, again, enough of the assignments, that will merit you easily an F in the class or a D or a C, so do not do that. I am not the hardest grader, but I am forcing you to do some volume of work. I admit that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to have you write a pound of essays, nor do I require a pound of flesh, or a pint of blood. But, buckets or not, I am getting my students to write so many papers and getting them to practice writing, so I'm getting you guys to go through problem sets and work through it at your own pace. You don't turn in those, I can't grade you enough, to your own liking. I don't care as much as you do about your particular grade, unfortunately. That's the world, and the human mind continuing. So I'm going to get lectures up as soon as I can. So please be patient with me. I'll try to. I'm less patient with me all the time than you are. I have to live with me. So I email all the assignments and the essays to me by the end of the course, and then I am going to try to get up. My job is to get up. I already have all the lectures up. You can read all the lectures today if you have the time, but I am going to be ranting and raving and posting videos, which I recommend you watch. If you prefer to just read, that's fine. But of course, in me talking it out at length, I will be making it hopefully entertaining. None of my jokes will be funny, as we can see. But I am going to try to explain with examples, and I do find, of course, that people like if you talk to them rather than they just read what you have to say. It is interesting. I have even been thinking, along with people thinking logic is something like text written down or computer language, when in fact logic was long before literacy, talking and reasoning around a campfire and being like, I don't know, Steve, what the heck? It is interesting to think that we write a lot down in text, but actually my students often prefer that they listen to me talk, whether or not they're seeing my face, but some prefer to see a face and facial expressions. And we've had text for only a few thousand years. The texts are not necessarily basic to the human brain. In fact, number words in math may not be basic to the human brain or human behavior, and then grow in very readily into human brains and behavior. So as we try to talk about what logic is and what argument is, it's very interesting to think about how textual or mathematical is your thinking. I'm betting if you're listening to me, your thinking is not very mathematical at all right now. I will not make it just the tip joke. In Berkeley, we don't pay tip. People are paid living wages. I'm not going to do my Bernie Sanders right now. Flew in with my mittens from Vermont, but I will leave that alone. Yes, I use no art, as usual, all the time. So email me the assignments, and I'll get the lecture notes up, lecture videos up. The lecture notes are up. I'm going to record videos about each and every one of the lectures. And then, in fact, during this semester, and I am inviting the Lewis Carroll Society to view this logic class as well, I am letting you know. That will not interfere with you talking to me via Zoom or interacting with your coursework at all, which is not public, of course. But as I deliver all this through the website and YouTube, I am going to talk my way up to explaining Alice in Wonderland, Poe's detective stories, which I believe hide secrets, but also Alice in Wonderland, and I'm going to have many, many talks on Poe and Alice in Wonderland included in these videos. You can watch those as you will. I do want you to watch some of it. I'm going to include a lot of videos on Alice in Wonderland and Edgar Allan Poe, which I think will teach you something, but which are some of the material I will deliver at length because I'm going to merge all this together. I do believe it belongs all together. So I am going to work through the full texts of Wonderland and through the Looking Glass and the Snark, which won't take hours and hours, but will take an hour or 2 or 3 at least. And I'm going to explain how you can interpret that in light of Aristotle and Boole, which is ancient and modern logic to Lewis Carroll. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to enjoy that like heck, because I have to do that for the Lewis Carroll Society, and I promised some video links, non-solicited, of course, I offered, most proudly, so now I have to stand and deliver, I did get a walking treadmill, so perhaps I'll pace. So the group meetings, thus, I'm going to talk at you and at the society here, but there are no required group meetings. I am here to meet with you and and any one of the group. It is a voluntary thing. I have found that most students, of course, are doing their thing, but I do want to be available to talk as much or as little as you want to talk to me. So email me if you are in the class to join the meetings each week. For this semester, I'm going to be having meetings for one class on Monday mornings at 11 to noon, another class on Tuesdays, and another class on Wednesdays. Please check the syllabus. But if you cannot meet at those times, you are working. We are told to work with people's lives, which I like a lot. I have students of all ages, ethnicities. I do enjoy having Mongolian students occasionally who tell me about Mongolia, which is a hip and happening place. There's the La Cucaracha, which is somewhat lunchtime across the street, and there's construction work, which is awesome. And I have in multiple of my videos I deliver in the mornings, mid-afternoon here. That would be, it's past 11. I got to get working. So or get to lunch. There's no required meetings. I will possibly meet the taco truck outside at some point. But I am here to meet with you as you need. Not only with the groups, I'm always available. If you show up to the group, be not surprised if there's only 1 or 2 or 3 people there, but that's okay. And if you need to talk to me individually, let's Zoom at some point when you can, and we can, well, yes, we can talk. So that is how I'm handling this during the plague. That is how we do. And so again, please see me and talk to me if there's any questions or anything. So we are going to, as already mentioned a bit, we're going to talk here, I'm going to give another talk about the intro to logic in my sort of vein. And I'm going to talk about speaking and thinking, and give a talk about speaking and thinking as human beings in the earliest of human anthropological contexts, as if we're all essentially aboriginals. So then I'm going to start covering what we call civilization, with a little bit of Egypt. I should actually I have a lecture on Egyptian ethics. I might throw that a little in there, because the Egyptians say, I think Hotep says, speaking is the hardest work there is to do. That's logic. As Tweedledum says to Alice. And that would be, I guess, harder than, because you got to talk to people before they pull triangles out of stone together in the desert, Which is still some of the most ancient and brilliant and amazing things human beings have ever done, still standing plenty. And yes, apparently talking things out is harder for people still. Yeah, like food and housing and everything. So we are then going to move to civilization with a bit of Egypt. We're going to do Indian logic and Gautama, which I've already got the hour and 45 up on that. You can work through. Then we're going to get to Greek logic and Aristotle. I already have a video or 2 about his life and other thought. I'm going to include all that in the video playlist for you so you can have more of a background. Again, you can skim through the videos as you need to. I can't stop you again. But I do not have videos yet on Aristotle's logic because I wanted to give myself the slow time and work here, in which I'm going to carefully review my own work on Indian logic and then start doing Aristotle, which is what I did with Lewis Carroll, and I'm glad I did. I was going to just try to read Boole into Lewis Carroll, and I found some Aristotle. So we're going to take our sweet time. I'm going to talk about Aristotle's logic. Those videos are not up yet, but then following that, there is a lecture and a few videos on Chinese logic and Huishi and Gongsung Long. I am going to include all of that. I am going to update the syllabus to better direct us and me and you to all of that, although it is decently like it should be up there already. So we're going to move between ancient and modern times then, somewhat along the medieval Middle Ages passage, as it has been referred to with words, with Islam and Avicenna and Averroes, Al-Farabi beforehand. As I get to ranting and raving, Europe is the civilization, very much civilizations following Islam, and if you don't look at that a bunch, you can't really see where Kessels and Persian castles come from and a whole lot of medieval things. Algebra, along with the basics of understanding Aristotle somewhat algebraically, which is going to be increasingly moving from Aristotle to Boole, as Lewis Carroll was concerned with in his 1800s, and in Victorian Britain still. We're going to cover Islam and Avicenna and Islamic logic and their Aristotelianisms, and then we're going to cover early Europe and Aquinas a bit, just a bit on Islam and medieval Europe, because I do know a bit about that, and worth saying. And then we're going to start introducing, in this class in particular, formal connectives with truth tables. Now, in a logic class, you are taught early Wittgenstein's truth tables and how to do a kind of formal math. I am going to teach you the basics of this formal math, and then in my logic classes, as I usually do, teach you the basics. It is, as I often say, Bart Simpson asks, he goes to take martial arts classes, And the martial arts instructor says, we learn martial arts to learn how we should not use it. And Bart says, I already know how to not hit a guy, now let's bust out the nunchucks. I'm going to teach you formal logic to show you why it's not the architecture of human thought, and why Lewis Carroll was struggling with whether or not we should make logic mathematical and go full Boole. But the thing is, Boole's ones and zeros and operations, strict, formal, Aristotelian, but not entirely Aristotelian logic, because it is very immaterial and universal, rather than a bit general and a bit specific. That formal logic and algebra became the ancestor of telephone systems, and then that became the ancestor of how I'm talking at you right now through the internet. So all of that, especially, it's a bit Californian, I have to say, and so all of that is coming through ones and zeros right now, and so that is logic, but you and I are not computers, as far as I know, to whom I am speaking. You and I are not 1 and 0 processing things, and that gets to the heart of Lewis Carroll, Aristotle versus Boole, and then early versus later Wittgenstein. So walking towards that from early medieval European logic, which is still very Aristotelian, like Islamic logic, and not entirely algebraic or the telephone systems and computer systems we have, which we call logical, unlike anyone you know in your friends or family, which is all automated, thankfully, thus. We're going to move into pre-formal logic with Kant and Hegel, and we're going to start setting up how Germans and others are thinking about the mind and idealism and ideals and algebra. Then we're going to, and I'm going to spend some length going through Edgar Allan Poe's Dupin and detective stories, because I do genuinely think that Edgar Allan Poe is very much like a pre-Nietzsche, pre-later Wittgenstein. He sees the math and he says we need to be both mathematicians and poets and understand human emotion. I'm increasingly a fan, and I will go through that specifically. His stories hide many interesting puzzles and very deep reflections on what Nietzsche, Schopenhauer before Nietzsche, Nietzsche and then Wittgenstein, thinkers I do like to go on and on about, do worry about a humanity that embraces science but still does not know how to talk to each other, and has embraced science since Sumer, not in Western civilization since the Greeks. That's everywhere, including Islam. And we like each other all right. I mean, I like you guys because I can't see you, you know. I like you fine so far, you know. You're very patient and attentive. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to start, as I'm teaching you the basics of truth tables the whole time, and we're slowly working through the math, I'm going to be teaching you somewhat of the architecture of the thinking behind that math, and we're going to be getting into Mill, De Morgan, and Boole. Now, these are the fellow Brits that Lewis Carroll was dealing with as he was trying to figure out whether or not this new modern algebraic formal mathematics, like what you learn with truth table logic, and I already have my videos explaining truth tables so you can do the truth table assignments this afternoon if you want to. Some people love truth tables. I actually aced a lot of truth tables. They're basically Sudoku. They're logic puzzle like with a spreadsheet. If you like that, that's great. And then I will explain to you why that's some of reasoning and not all of it. And we can think about all of this, and you are free to think about it, free to be you and me, and free to think about it differently than me. But I can show you historical background where logic is and isn't these kinds of mathematics and formalities, and computers. Because computers sort of are and aren't logical. You know, read any science fiction story since the 50s about that, and Asimov. So basically, after I'm done doing all of that, we are going to slowly walk through Lewis Carroll and Alice's adventures, and then we are going to continue with the history of formal logic, covering the work of Venn and Peano, Venn diagrams. Somebody once said box, car, van, you know, with the Venn diagrams. Yes. Venn, van, what's the difference? Is that Venn and Peano, Venn was trying to teach basic people of all types, not just math majors, logic, and he ended up screwing up and inventing an visual illustration, which is now very essential to much logic, and is heavily celebrated, which was not something fancy at first. It's just a silly device for teaching the average person logic, for Venn, the Venn diagrams, yes. And through Peano to Frege and Russell, and then that will move us to Wittgenstein and later Wittgenstein, which is some of the stuff I love the most, and I will refrain from going on and on about that right now. But it does have to do with how logic is emotions, words, perceptions, imagination, memories, all of it interwoven in concrete situations, which I am going to spend a great deal of time slowly explaining why I think the history of everything I am sharing with you can help you think and help you see and understand others and society all around you if it has any effect on us or history at all. Yes, you can really learn, you can't learn from history, by learning history, as they say. That wasn't me. It was some other guy. It was like that when I got here, So I take no blame. We finish then with logical fallacies and puzzles, and we kind of have fun at the end where we share what we can do with what we can do. So that being said, that is pretty much the class. At this point in the syllabus, I have the assignments, all 10 of them. The first assignment, which again, email all these things to Eric Gerlach. Check that over and don't misspell it. Again, you'll be sending it to strangers. Maybe you want to. I don't know. Is ericgerlach@gmail.com. Again, I can check my Peralta. You can email it to my Peralta account, but I check that, not as much as Gmail. So please complete the assignments. Email to me. And for the spring, please try to do the first 3 assignments by March, the second 3 by April, and the third 3 by May, which gives you time to do the last assignment essay, as well as all the assignments you actually haven't done until then. Yes, working at your own pace, rather than my recommendations, such that you finish off by the end of the class just before June. If this is the fall and this is an alternate time for the class, which isn't right now, do the first 3 by October, the second 3 by November, and the third 3 by December, giving you time to do the last by the end of the class before January. I'm actually including quantities not at all on purpose there, you may notice. I'm actually experimenting more and more with how much human thought isn't quantitative at all, because I actually think number words are rare, or recent, let's call it that. Several thousand years. Read, don't sleep, there are snakes. It's kind of interesting. But we actually, most of the time, and much of humanity, possibly many peasants actually, Russian peasants specifically, who are like, how many cats can I fit in a wheelbarrow? I don't care what 6 + 5 is. It depends how many cats I get in the wheelbarrow. And they don't care about math aside from that. That's probably most of our lives all the time. Again, I won't make the just the tip joke. Again, in Berkeley, living wages, Bernie Sanders. So, he's not here, and he gave a rally, I think, here at some point. So, anyway, try to do that, and for the first assignment, write at least 1 typed double-spaced page about your thoughts on logic. Are there things everyone can agree to or should, and can you give basic examples? What principles of good reasoning are there, and are these basic to the mind or learned through culture? That is me asking you what you think about logic and to reflect on it before we get into any of this. Obviously, you can cheat and look at stuff and then tell me, but I really want you to tell me as honestly as you can what you actually think logic is, and take your time and don't just use expressions you've heard other people say. Really try to work it. Don't worry about saying anything perfect. I almost imagine you can't. I almost imagine with Wittgenstein, like, describe the sound of a clarinet. You can hear it in your head. You can feel people compromising with each other and feeling nice down by the water. I doubt you can get there in moves. In the same way I doubt you can describe a clarinet in paragraphs, you or experts. But hey, try to work it out for yourself and find out how talking out stuff around a campfire is hard. The Mayans and the Aztecs, supposedly, in the fragments of their poetry the Spanish conquistadors left us, said things like, are there true words? If not, then these words are not true. Humanity has been very smart, long before the Greeks, long before literacy. So try to work that out for me in a paper and email that to me. And again, 1 typed, double-spaced page. I don't want a long Russian novel. I don't even want a short one. I don't read Russian. I want a single page as to what logic is, and I want you to experience how hard it is to describe the sound of a clarinet. Except I don't want you to do that. I want you to try to describe what logic is, given your friends and family. Or science. Try it either way. There's been a lot of history. So, from that point on, I'm then going to have you do a couple of other assignments in which I am having you describe several examples verbally. And then we are going to move into more truth table math with strict ways of using and or, unlike elastic actual everyday speech, according to later Wittgenstein, in which and or are computer operations and we can go through the math together. And then at the end with fallacies and jokes. Wittgenstein said you could do a philosophy entirely in jokes, hopefully a logic or two. As we work through it, I will show you and explain why truth tables are nice. They are not what Wittgenstein believed in after inventing them in his later work. He believed on thought experiments imagining situations, which is fiction, like the detective stories of Edgar Allan Poe and the fantasies and fantastic stories of Lewis Carroll. Situating elements shows us the situations of, as I will describe in the next lecture, and following this talk, which I will conclude this syllabus here, in the next and following talk, I will explain how Wittgenstein's work suggests, and I have my own take on this, of course, is that emotions, perceptions, memories, which is imagination very much creatively forward, and then also words, which is logic, reasoning verbally and logically, much more than in images we draw out. We do paint pictures, but we don't logic in pictures as much as words. That is going to be the subject of the next talk, and I'm going to give that either this morning, probably tonight, looking at the time. I've got other syllabi to cover, or syllabuses. So, that said, welcome to the class. I hope that you learn a lot. Please watch this and other lectures I've put online at your leisure. And then please, if you are in the class, make sure to email me the assignments by the final date of the semester and talk to me as you need to work through the work. All right, so that's pretty much that. I will see ya if I ever see ya, and I haven't seen you yet.